Welcome. I'm Jared Wooliver. I want to walk you through some of the secrets I've learned over the past 20 years on what it takes to have an optimal life. And I'll give you a little spoiler alert. It's more than just diet and exercise. So stay tuned with me for the next little bit, and I'm going to walk you down the journey of what I've learned over the past 20 years and how to optimize your health. Before I get started, I want to thank Whitney, Claudia, Dylan, and Carol for all your support. You allow me to do what I love, and I appreciate and love you for it. Stevie, our holistic pharmacist, for putting her trust in Fox Fitness, into us, for what we're creating, and actually picking up and moving from Idaho to Tampa, 2,500 miles, to help support the vision of changing healthcare and the health and wellness space for good. And most of all, thank you for being here and sharing your time and attention with us. Truly, truly appreciate you. And I want to get started with this with basically a look into the past. So if we look from the 1970s or even before then to today, things are drastically different. So this is a great visual that kind of helps support that. If we look at the 1970s, we didn't have obesity and overweight issue that we see today, along with a host of other things. So our lives are drastically different. We have food and groceries and pretty much everything that we want at the push of a button delivered to our house. We have more technology than ever today, and the world is just a drastically different place than it was 4 to 5 decades ago. And over the past 4 to 5 decades, and even longer, we have been seeing trends not moving in a direction that I think any of us are really pleased to see. So we've seen an increase in heart disease. That's our first graph that's in the upper left. That's just been moving up and up and up. That's from the late 90s into 2011. And then if we look at the next graph in the upper right hand corner, that's going to be the rate of cancer. So cancer's going through the roof as well. And then if we look at the bottom, that's going to be diabetes. So diabetes from 1980 to basically 2015, somewhere in that zone, it's 2014 is what that graph says. So, and it's still accelerating and moving up. If we stretch all of these graphs out into 2023, where we're currently at today, the trajectory hasn't really changed. So we're not any healthier today than we have been. Heart disease is up, type 2 diabetes is up, cancer drastically up. If we look at the stats on that, 1 out of every 2 men are going to have cancer at some point in their lives, have a cancer diagnosis. And the same goes for women, but that number is 1 in 3. Collectively, whenever we put men and women together, basically we're looking at a 40% plus, and that is accelerating and moving up as we go. So basically, cancer is a coin flip in today's era. We also have autoimmune related issues. We have dementia and Alzheimer's. I already talked about obesity a little bit. And then we could get into a host of other things. We've got increased knee replacements, hip replacements. Basically, all these health standards are increasing, and the quality of our life is slowly decreasing. And there seems to be a disconnect because whenever we actually look at where our time, attention, and money go, we're actually spending more time, attention, and money on our health and wellness than we ever have before. If we actually look at the numbers from 2000, just with gym memberships, we have 32.8 million people with a gym membership at the turn of the century at 2000. Give it just less than 20 years, and that number has doubled to 62.4 million, and it's still going up. Now, if those people are actually using that gym membership, that's a different story. But people are actually valuing and putting their money into gym memberships as well as other technologies to help improve their health and wellness. That moves us into the next bullet point, which is our health and wellness market. So the market share continues to rise. Just over the past few years, we went from $3.2 trillion in 2020. Didn't quite double within 3 years, but we're getting close. It's 5.1 trillion estimated at this year in 2023. And then by the year 2020, 2025, we're looking at $7+ trillion spent on health and wellness to continue to improve our lifestyle so we can have an optimal life. The United States, we're currently ranked dead last whenever we look at the wealthiest countries, the people that should have optimal healthcare. United States, 69 overall. If you look at the statistics, Cuba, Kuwait, Costa Rica, Iran, Sri Lanka, a lot of these countries that they don't have the GDP that our country has and the prosperity that our country has. However, their uh, their populations are just living longer, healthier lives than us in the United States. In the United States, along with having the worst healthcare, we also spend more than twice for every single person. So every head in the United States is basically spending $2 to every dollar in any other comparable countries, whether that's Denmark or Sweden or places with better healthcare, longer health span as we get into aging, and less money, half the money spent overall in healthcare costs. So there's just a disconnect. We're sicker than ever. Everything's accelerating and moving up, even though we're putting our time, attention, and money into resolving the issue. So where is that disconnect? I've been doing this for 20 years now. My name's Jared Wooliver, for those of you that don't know me, and I want to give you a little backstory and just kind of walk you through my journey because that's what's led me to learn about what I'm going to reference towards the end of this presentation about our 7 pillars of optimal health and wellness. So at the age of 16, I was dumped by my first long-term girlfriend. And it's funny looking back now, but when I was 16 and we ended up parting ways, my heart was broken and I didn't know how I was going to live another day, honestly. So I grew up, I had a great uprising, good family. That was honestly the first like major bit of depression that I ever felt in my life. So fortunately, it took me to the age of 16 before I ever really experienced it. But this is what kind of led me into the health and wellness space because I've always wanted to lift weights and go into the weight room. My parents got a membership at a local health club, and we mainly got it for access to the pool. But to get to the pool, I always had to walk past that weight room. And from the age of 14 up, every time I walked past that weight room, I wanted to go in there. There was a sign on the door saying you had to be 16. So I had to wait, and next thing you know, life happens. I'm going through time. Um, get my heart broken, and I just remembered, hey, you have to be 16 to go in the weight room. I had a driver's license at the time. I had a little pickup truck. So I got in that little pickup truck. I drove to the weight room and I just started pushing the barbell around, doing some bicep curls, not knowing what I'm doing, but just getting in there and basically getting my mind off of the breakup that I experienced. And then I was in there for 45 minutes to an hour, left, and on my way home, I had the realization that the depression that I was feeling when I went into the gym was gone. And I thought that was pretty cool. And honestly, it subsided for the rest of the evening, and I didn't really have the heartache that I was feeling that I woke up with. Next day happens, went to school, and then right after school, I knew I wanted to experience that again, so I went back to the gym. Did my little strength training, pushed some weights around, and same thing. I went in depressed, feeling bummed, sad, and then by the time I left, that was completely gone. As I worked through the rest of the week, day after day after day of doing the exact same thing, by the first week, I knew that I had to do something in the health and wellness space. The feeling that I got when I was 16 on the mental side of what doing some resistance training can do, I was hooked. From there, basically went to college, got my degree in that. As soon as I got my degree back in 2004, I started to train professionally. So I've been doing this I was even training before I did it just full time professionally in 2004. So I've been doing this for 20, 21 years now. Um, And the first 5 years of doing it professionally, I just worked with a lot of different people. I worked with 10-year-old kids doing sports performance, and then I also worked with 75-year-old men and women teaching them how to get on machines, set their settings appropriately, do leg press. Needless to say, I got a diverse group. I learned so much within that first 4 or 5 years, but it also started to lead me down my true passions. After I was at the health club space for years and years and years, my training methodology changed. So I initially started using a lot of machines. Eventually, I wanted to move. I wanted to teach people how to squat, how to deadlift, how to push and pull and move their bodies. And the space that I was currently at just didn't allow for that. I needed more open space. So that's what led me to open my first gym. I loved the experience that I had in the big box gym, and I had a great experience there. But in order for me to serve the clients the way I wanted to, I knew I needed a space of my own that allowed me to support that. So that's what led me into opening my own gym and my first gym in 2009. I was already in the process of getting really digging into the corrective exercise game and basically learning how to blend rehab and prehab with strength training. Got really, really good at that. Got actually really great at that, and I put together a company called Smart Group Training, where I was training trainers, flying around the country, putting on workshops, teaching trainers what I was doing on the corrective exercise front to actually make substantial impacts with clients on the training floor, improving hip mobility, improving shoulder mobility, and basically getting results when a lot of other people were not getting results. Um, that eventually led me into a holistic health and wellness space. It wasn't my idea. Um, I just had some colleagues that followed me through that smart group training, and they lived nearby, and they had a vision of creating a company to where we blended stem cell therapy with health and wellness. And I loved the concept. I thought it was innovative and moving forward. So I was I partnered up with five other business partners. There were six of us total, and we started to create a basically a medical fitness business, very holistic in nature. And that's where my passion lies today, is to look at the whole picture. And the doctor that we partnered up with, one of the things that really stood out to me, he was a stem cell doctor, and he had a patient come in, and basically he needed, like, the patient wanted stem cells. Stem cell therapy for the guy's knee was the treatment plan, but he would not deliver the stem cells for 3 to 6 months until this gentleman would actually resolve some of the gut issues that he had going on. So that was I'm like, why is this, world renowned stem cell doctor fixing this guy's gut health to fix his knee? Gut and knee, there was a big disconnect until I started to really dig in and understand his thought processes. We improved the gut health. We reduce systemic inflammation, and it gives the stem cells better opportunity to actually heal the knee. So by addressing the gut first, the stem cells were more effective to treat the knee, and improve his overall success rate and give the gentleman some support that he was looking for. So I thought that was a really cool concept of address gut health to fix somebody's knee. That blew my mind, and I've been down this journey ever since. Um, After that, I just knew that having five business partners, it wasn't going to work out for me. So when the opportunity presented itself in 2018, me and my wife took it. We moved to Tampa, Florida to take over Fox Fitness. We lived in our RV for 14 months to make it happen. We have some amazing stories. And now that we've been down in Tampa for a handful of years, we have a pandemic behind us, we're ready to bring back some of that holistic health and wellness that we started to learn and really dive deep in about 5 to 7 years ago. So that's a little bit about me. And those, over the course of the last 20 years, I've really been able to learn. I've kind of distilled it down into three big secrets that I want to share with you today. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with secret number one. There's a better way to age gracefully, and a does not have to include stiff, achy joints, lack of energy, hormonal issues, or weight loss resistance. Ever heard the term no pain, no gain? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we all have. If you actually look at this, the picture of myself here, it's a great before and after, but what you don't see is the picture on the right. That after is I am super dehydrated. I have terrible back pain. My knees hurt whenever they never hurt before. And I was starting to experience adrenal fatigue in that picture as well as my energy was crashing and I didn't have any energy throughout the day. So, yeah, it makes for a great photo, but I felt terrible. Now, what I've learned over the past years is you can have both. I may not be at the exact level because I'm super dehydrated on the right, but you can have optimal health, you can have a body that you desire, and you can do it if you take the right approach. And it does not have to include, again, back pain, knee pain, inflamed joints, fatigue, and straight up killing yourself in the gym. So during this, I was actually training. I have 5 days a week of intense exercise. I was doing powerlifting, heavy squats, deadlifts, bench press, and I was training 4 or 5 days a week, heavy on the intensity in the weight room. Along with that, I was doing 2 to 3 days a week of high intensity interval training. So that's our HIIT training. Super effective, but whenever we couple that with 4 to 5 days a week of powerlifting, and then throw on top of that, I was also into some mixed martial arts at the time, doing some Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu, 2 to 3 days a week, 2 hour practices, anywhere between 4 to 8 hours of mixed martial arts on top of the powerlifting, on top of the high intensity interval training. I was super in shape, but again, my body was starting to wear out. I was doing this from basically my time in college all the way up this picture. I was in my young to mid 30s here. Um, so my body did not adjust and adapt nearly as quickly as it did whenever I was 18, whenever I was 22. As we started to get a little bit older, our body takes more time to recover. So if we're hitting the gym 5 days a week, we're doing 2 to 3 days a week of high intensity stuff, and we're not addressing some of our rest and recovery, then we're missing the picture. So short term results, long term failure, and I just knew there had to be a better way. I knew being a trainer that is focused in health and wellness and even moving well. I was a corrective exercise specialist at this point, but I didn't necessarily understand the stress and inflammation ballgame nearly as much. So I knew how to get people moving well, but I didn't necessarily understand stress completely. So this was my window into learning more about the holistic side of things and how everything is basically entangled together. And whenever we push one area, it can definitely pull another area along. So my time and exposure and learning about stress and inflammation was absolute game changer. And it all started a little bit before, but when it really sunk in and solidified with me, it was a restorative breathing course that I took in 2012, 2013, somewhere back there. So I was doing that heavy strength training. I was pushing through some of the back stiffness. Wasn't necessarily what I would have called pain, but it was just constantly tight. Um, and especially after days that I would deadlift and do exercises like that, I would just have that chronically tight back. And I went into the restorative breathing course with that. I had a chronically tight back. I had knees that were starting to ache whenever they never ached before. And then the restorative breathing course, basically, we slowed everything down. We learned how to breathe in and out through our nose. We learned how to basically learn the difference between sympathetic fight or flight nervous system and parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system. Whenever we learn to slow things down, we're able to shift our bodies into that parasympathetic state versus constantly being in that sympathetic, overloaded fight or flight stress response state. And after I started to put in the work, after that course, basically I had a chronically tight back for years and years and years, and did chiropractic, did dry needling, and did a bunch of different things, and nothing worked. but breath work allowed my body to actually relax and let some of that tone and tension go. And within about 2 weeks after that course and putting in the work, the back pain pretty much melted, that tension melted, my knees didn't hurt anymore. I started to regain energy, my adrenals started to function better, and it all happened within the first couple weeks of incorporating some good breath work. So that was my eye-opening moment because it was such a personal experience of me doing the right things, what I thought was the right things. But again, until I started to add other components to the movement, the intensity, it's a yin yang. You got to have a little bit of intensity in your world, but you need to couple that with rest and digest so your body doesn't get stressed and overloaded. So that was my window into learning about stress, inflammation, and basically the beginning of it was 5 pillars. It's now 7 pillars, and I'm super excited to keep digging in. Let's dig into secret number 2. You can be healthy and strong without having to live in the gym or completely restrict the foods that you love. So, how many of you have been down this path? You start a new diet, you see some results, and then those results actually start to slow down a little bit. So you eventually add some exercise. That starts to see some results. We see some scale weights start to drop again, and we're happy we're moving forward, then we plateau. So what do we got to do? Like, we've got diet, we got exercise. So maybe you cut some more calories, or maybe you increase the amount that you're exercising, and then that stops to work. So it's just this cycle of cut calories, increase exercise, cut calories, increase exercise, and we keep making progress initially until that eventually stops. And it will always stop whenever we follow this, because your body needs energy for all the other functions, for your brain to function, for your heart to pump, for our nervous system to work. It requires a lot of energy. So if we keep cutting down caloric intake, aka energy, and we keep adding energy expenditure, aka exercise, eventually we get to this point that our body can no longer sustain it. So in order for it to maintain homeostasis and to stay healthy and to keep the vitals working, it drastically starts to shut down your metabolism, and then your metabolism's super low because we're not fueling the body with what it needs. So we see this cycle all the time, and it's one of the most common cycles we have whenever people come to the gym. Um, Basically, we have people that haven't done anything for 5, 10 years, maybe even longer than that, and they're just looking to pick things back up. But the second most common individual is this exact same thing. At this point, that same person coming in for help because they've been plateaued forever, they've been busting their butt, and they're looking for some support now. They're to the point they're exercising 6, 7 days a week, an hour at a time. They're doing pretty high intense exercises, and they're eating 800 to 1200 calories. So there's just that mental disconnect, and now we have to educate and teach how the body needs to restore its metabolism through fuel, good quality food, and the appropriate amount of exercise. So that situation, a lot of the times, it's not uncommon for the strategy to be eat more, work out less, and next thing you know, results actually start to happen. And so we gave them more time in their life because they don't have to kill themselves in the gym. We gave them more food because they're chronically just not eating enough food. We restore that, we restore the metabolism, the body's able to start shedding fat, and now it's that yin yang I talked about. We're giving it some rest, but we're also pushing the body, and that's how we're able to grow and adapt. So, and there's other strategies we can do as well. So some people just aren't ready to, restrict certain foods or give up certain foods. We have a whole methodology that we like to teach around that. With intermittent fasting, crowding out method, these are all different things that we can utilize to make sure that you're able to live a life that you want, still be able to go out, have dinner with family and friends, and not live a life eating out of Tupperware that's basically uh, bodybuilding type food, and you're eating the same thing over and over. We can still, have the right amount of exercise, the appropriate diet, and get the results that we're looking for. So what we look at is we want basically the minimalist approach to training and diet is we live in a stressful, busy, fast-paced world. Most of us don't have an hour every day, hour and a half every day to devote to exercise. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old at home, and needless to say, they keep me busy. We're planning on homeschooling our children as well. So the time is just not going to be there for me to spend, dedicate the amount of time like I used to, where I was training 5 days a week, doing 2 to 3 days a week of MMA, doing 2 days a week of, high intensity interval training. Even though, like, even if I had the time, I want to look at what the minimum effective dosage is. So if I hate the weight room and I have knee pain and I understand building up some strength in the hip will support that knee, then if that's my main issue, I just have to look at, if you see in the slide here, strength. Basically, in order to improve your strength, which could drastically improve back pain, knee pain by supporting the body with the appropriate amount of strength, you can get stronger in one heavy set. So you might do 1 or 2 warm-up sets, and then you push really heavy for one set. And you only have to do that 1 to 3 times a week. Honestly, you can finish that workout within 20 to 30 minutes, 1 to 3 times a week. You're spending less than an hour in the gym, and then next thing you know, the back pain, the knee pain no longer hurts because you're supporting it with opposing muscle strength. Our core is now stronger, and we're able to give the body the support it needs. Whenever we look at health, it's even less than that. So 30 to 60 minutes a week gives you the max risk reduction of the benefits of what strength training can do. So it doesn't take a whole lot. Now, and then whenever we look at building muscle, so we want to improve, a lot of the women that come to us want to improve muscle tone. So that has to be a little bit of building of muscle and losing body fat to equate to the muscle toning. And we can do that in as little as 1 to 4 sets per week. If we look at, it's called hypertrophy, the ability to build muscle. Most hypertrophy programs are 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week. That's a lot of time you're going to have to spend in the gym. You still need to warm up, you need to cool down, you have to get those amount of working sets on every single muscle group, which at least 8 to 10 different muscle groups that you're going to be addressing in a bodybuilding kind of program to have a well-balanced body with good muscle toning. That takes a lot of time. However, if we just do 1 to 4 sets per week, which drastically reduces that time, let's just use the number 4 as an example. And basically, if we're using 4 versus 20, we're 20% of the time to get 65% of the gains that we're going to get on that. So whenever we start to understand how much time it actually takes to get the results that we're looking for, it helps us build and customize the program. When we start looking at food, what you eat versus when you eat. So we can look at intermittent fasting, and that drastically reduces, like, you're not willing to give up the foods that you love. Are you willing to compromise on when you eat those foods? Because if we can control one of those variables, typically we're going to see some amazing results. Now, whenever we can get both, whenever we can start to design your eating plan around when you eat, and then you slowly make these changes into better, more organic, nutrient dense foods, and we now are eating clean and we optimize the windows that we eat, we're going to see amazing results with that. I talked about the crowding out method. So instead of depriving yourself, we're all about introducing new foods and superfoods that are going to support your nutrition and health. And next thing you know, there's just not enough room for the junk as we slowly crowd out some of those less than optimal foods for optimal foods and superfoods that are going to fuel us. And then I like sprint, rest, sprint, rest. So what that means is basically how I approach my own health and fitness. A handful of times a year, I really push myself. I'll go 4 to 6 weeks and do a little mini challenge and get some serious results. And then the rest period, I just try to sustain some of those habits that I was working on. Let's say I was working on 5, 6 habits during that sprint. During the rest period, if I'm able to sustain 2 or 3 of those habits at 80% plus of what I was doing, and then the next sprint, again, I'm pushing and sustaining. Next thing I know, 2, 3 years down the road of sprint, rest, learning how to pick up some great habits. Some of them don't stick, some of them do, but then I pick it right back up. Now more good habits are sticking. Next thing you know, you're living like your life will be completely changed. You will not believe the amount of change that you can do taking this format over the course of 2 to 3 years. Um, your life will just look completely different. And then there's a tiny habits methodology. We get into that into our coaching programs. Basically, if I want to run a marathon, don't start by trying to run a marathon. Start by putting on your walking shoes, your running shoes, and just go into the mailbox. If you're going from completely sedentary to that, we need to make these tiny habits. We need to make them stick, and then we need to learn how to use inertia and momentum to keep that going. So that's another good secret. And then the third secret, the one that I really want to get into today, is our 7 pillars of optimal health and wellness. So I've kind of already alluded to it's just more than diet and exercise. If we don't take this balanced approach, then we're probably going to be missing the boat and we're not going to achieve optimal health and wellness. Sure, we can have good wellness, but we're not going to optimize it and we're not going to maximize the health span, how long we can live before we start to experience, pain, discomfort, disease, if we don't take this approach. So as you look at the diagram here, the big focal point is mindset. And honestly, this is the piece that's completely missing in most programs and one area that's going to set our program apart from everything else. So your mind is super powerful. Whenever we look at all the research that's out there, they have to look at something called the placebo effect. The placebo effect is the power of the mind to heal the body. I can give you a sugar pill, and if you believe strong enough that that sugar pill is a legit pharmaceutical or a supplement or anything that's going to, like, let's say, reduce inflammation or take away depression, anything that's out there, host of diseases and ailments and illnesses that we can relate this to, but your mind has the power to produce endorphins, hormones, even though it's simply a sugar pill. And if the mind has the ability to do that and heal itself, it also has the ability through our thinking and emotions to create illness and disease as well. So mindset has to be the the center of improving everything. And if you've ever had habits that don't stick, or you just don't think that you're going to experience anything, that leads me into one of my favorite quotes from Henry Ford is the man or woman that thinks they can is right, and the man or woman that thinks they can't is also correct. What that just means is your mindset, your ability, your belief in actually achieving something is the ultimate answer to are you going to get to the end result or not. One of my mentors, David Bayer, who I've been learning a ton of mindset stuff from, he coined the term desire plus non-resistance equals desired outcome. Hear that one again. This one is super impactful. Desire plus non-resistance equals desired outcome. We have a desire. Maybe that desire is to, I have type 2 diabetes and I want to work on improving my blood sugar markers and insulin sensitivity. Maybe I have 5 to 10 pounds. I've been healthy and I have 5 to 10 pounds around the midsection that just won't go away. Maybe I want to improve, my muscle toning and body appearance. Maybe I want to be able to improve my mobility and be able to get up and down from the ground. All of these habits, basically, those are desires. I want to, in this translates into things more than just health and wellness. I want to improve the amount of money that I make in my job or profession. I want to become a good leader. I want to become a good father to my children. These are all desires. And if we're not at the desired outcome, so desire plus non-resistance equals desired outcome, there is some form of resistance that's keeping us there. I know whenever I ask people, how many of us have goals? Nearly everybody in the room will raise their hand. And then, okay, how many of those goals have been around for a period of time and you're just not able to achieve that goal? And then a vast majority of the hands still stay raised. What that equals is there's a desire, that there's a form of resistance, and that form of resistance typically comes in the form of a mindset restriction or a limiting belief. So if I believe that weight loss is hard, then guess what? Everything that happens in my life, my mind, basically, there's 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day, and 90% of them are the same, and they're done at a subconscious level. So if my subconscious thinks that weight loss is hard, and everything I do, it's going to make weight loss hard. If I start to shift that belief that I can lose weight, I just haven't taken the right approach, then we're going to be able to, and you actually truly believe it, next thing you know, your reticular activating system, this amazing technology that's within our brain, starts to pick up on things in the world that start to see the creation, the possibility of making all of these desires actually happen. So we have a strategy and a technology and a framework that is able to take all of these, one, identify. Awareness is key. Once we aware, hey, here's some limiting beliefs that are preventing us, some resistance that are preventing us from getting the desired outcomes that we want. Now we can start to shatter those limiting beliefs. We can start to empower and form new beliefs, and then we neurosculpt them with evidence in your life and other people's lives that this is a reality, and the reality is a possibility. And with that, the transformation of possibility, and you're going to be able to start to see amazing results. So we dig deep into mindset, and then we translate that into our other 6 pillars. We have our movement pillar. Move well, move often. We need to make sure everybody has an individualized routine. A lot of the times, like, I may have something going on with my left hip that affects the way bending forward, bending backward, rotating, which is going to put a lot of stress on knee, back, other joints. And instead of trying to look at absolutely everything, and fix absolutely everything, we can find one key area that may be translating into multiple. And I've seen it just thousands of times, to where we address and improve one area, and following a good hierarchical system, of knowing what to address first and seeing a trickle down effect. We fix one thing, and next thing you know, 3 or 4 movement patterns are now cleared up. That one thing was creating a host of other issues, which ultimately rob you of moving well and feeling well. So we're going to individualize our movement plan based upon a thorough assessment and finding out what's going on, and then support that with either training at Fox Fitness or distance training to where you're at a home gym or a hotel gym if you travel a lot. Everybody's going to be able to complete in the movement. Everything's going to be individualized. And then we just work on how do we support that movement pillar and support it with a strong mindset. We also look at that on nutrition. So we have a 3-layer approach to optimize health and wellness. The first layer is basically quit adding fuel to the fire. So if we have a leaky gut and we have gut issues that are stemming to inflammation in joints and potentially autoimmune issues and other diseases and ailments, we need to quit adding fuel to the fire. We need to support the gut, and that's one of our first layers. The next layer is we're going to support your liver, the liver and other detoxifying organs, to make sure that they're not sludged up and basically not operating at their full capacity. We want to make sure that our detoxing organs are working great as well. So now we're cleaning up the gut, we're cleaning up our detox organs, and then we're going to optimize the final thing, which is going to help give us amazing hormone control, and get our bodies back into that state of healing and wellness to where the body just naturally does what it wants and to do to heal, and that's going to be insulin and blood sugars. So we have quit adding fuel to the fire, adding fuel to the fire. We kind of take away that inflammation, then we support our detox organs, and then we support our blood glucose and insulin response, and that is our big pillars of what we approach in nutrition. And again, everybody can be individual. So in our program that we're going to be doing with Optimal Living, we're going to also be looking at genetic testing. That genetic testing is going to help us dial in specific what we want in the nutrition pillar, what we want in the stress pillar, what we want in the detox pillar. And it just, again, has that trickle down effect. It's a concept of entanglement that I can pull on one of these and it's going to start to pull all of these pillars. So if I start to add just too much movement, it's going to affect my stress pillar, and it's going to also put some stress on my mindset. So I need that resilient mindset to balance things out. Then we have our sleep pillars. Sleep is just as important, if not more important, than the movement and nutrition side of things. So we're going to look at, make sure you understand the 4 sleep cycles that we have. So we have some light sleep cycles, we have REM, we have deep sleep cycles, but understanding those sleep cycles and understanding, like, if you struggle with sleep, which is ultimately going to prevent your body from scrubbing and cleaning and regenerating through the night like it needs to regenerate good cells and good optimal health, we can figure out, like, what are you having trouble with latency, the ability to go to sleep, or are you having trouble, like, you go to sleep just fine, but 2 to 3 hours in, you wake up every single night. And it's not necessarily go to the bathroom. Those could be strategies, two different strategies on what we can apply to improve those different sleep stages, sleep cycles. So we look at sleep pretty deep. We also look at stress. Stress is the biggest epidemic of the 21st century, and it's the basically stress causes about 95% of the diseases and the illnesses that we face in today's world. So if we're overstressed and we're not managing the stress, I alluded to the stress and the importance of that in my first secret. It's extremely important, and we need to give it the attention that it needs. And then we have our environment. The environment is key to optimal success. We look at a study between Parkinson's patients that did a 5-day meditation retreat. They were able to use the mindset, completely reverse Parkinson's, and have zero symptoms of that. However, whenever they reintroduced all of those patients back into their natural environment, within 1, 2, 3 weeks, a short period of time, after talking to the same people, doing the same things, basically thinking, feeling, this mindset aspect in that same environment, the symptoms came back. So environment's something we have to address. Also, if you're not addressing your environment, you're just making things way harder than it should be. So we want to make sure that the environment's on point. And then our final pillar is detox. If you would ask me 5, 10 years ago, I would have said that detox, that we didn't have to do it. Our body can naturally do it. However, there's thousands of new chemicals that are introduced into our society on an annual basis. So our bodies are just being bombarded with atrazine, bromine, BPAs, lead, mercury. There's a ton of different things in aluminum. There's just so many different ways that we are exposed to toxins, that it's impossible to escape. So we have to start to use the environment, clean up our environment a little bit. We have to dig deep into detoxing. As you heard from the nutrition pillar, we want to make sure your detox organs are optimal and they're functioning the way they could, so they can process these heavy metals and other toxins and pesticides and these harmful chemicals that we're exposed to on a daily basis, and get them out of our body so we can stay in optimal health. And if you haven't seen results, and you haven't focused on all of these pillars, you've mainly been focusing on the movement, the nutrition, you haven't addressed mindset, stress, environment, sleep, detox. Again, if you haven't taken the whole comprehensive approach, this is the future of health and wellness. This is where we're going to go, and we're super excited to go there with you guys. So, what I want to do now that we understand this holistic approach, we kind of have a choice. We can continue doing the things that we've been doing. If you're completely happy with the results, keep doing what you're doing. I still recommend looking at, addressing each one of the 7 pillars. But if you're where you're at, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you're not where you're at, you have a choice. And we want to support you with our Optimal Living program. So our Optimal Living program, what it is it's a 16-week course that comes with custom genetic testing. We're going to use that genetic testing to not only maximize your results today, but for years to come. We're also going to look at some blood work. We're going to look at that blood work to identify any limitations or potential roadblocks to optimizing your health and well-being. So looking at markers that your primary care physician typically isn't going to look at, understanding what those numbers actually mean, and then also making sure, say you're in a normal window, but you're on the low end, most primary care physicians are going to look at it. It fits the green box. You fit in that window, and they're not going to address it. However, even though like my testosterone personally is in a good window, I still have a lot of room for improvement. So my numbers right now are roughly like 500, and I can take that up to 1,000 with some lifestyle change and intervention. And those are strategies that I'm personally working on. So those are the things that most of the time you're not going to have your primary care or your wellness checks actually get into. And a lot of these, the tests that we're going to do are tests that they're not going to do anyway. You also get the Mind Hack course and coaching to address success in every area of your life, not just health and wellness. This will trickle down into your relationships. This will trickle down into your spirituality. This will trickle down into your professional life and the amount of money that you can make for your family. So the ability to own your mind, to destroy limiting beliefs, and to set up the possibility of, and not just the possibility, the guarantee that it will happen if you actually put in the work and you do the mindset stuff. So Mind Hack will be part of the program. You also get a personalized fitness custom to you, to fit your lifestyle. Whether that, again, that's with us at Fox Fitness, if you live locally and you don't travel a lot, or if you do travel a lot, then you're going to be able to use Fox Fitness when you're in town, and you're going to be able, we'll design you a custom workout for you to do at home, on the road, and that workout plan may be different. It will be different for everybody. So if you're new to working out, that workout plan might simply be daily walking and a couple very small resistance exercises. Or if you've been a lifelong exerciser, obviously that workout plan is going to look a little differently. We're going to personalize that custom to you. You also get just tons of one-on-one support with Stevie, our holistic pharmacist, and Whitney throughout the course of the program. And you also get access to all your coaches between these one-on-one sessions during our weekly office hours, so we can answer any questions that you have and troubleshoot in between those one-on-one sessions. Some amazing bonuses we want to support you with is, my favorite is the top. So we did the Powerful Living Experience. I've done it the past 2 years. 2 years ago it was virtual. It was great. Last year we actually got to go to Round Rock, Texas, and it was a life-changing event. The trajectory of my life has drastically has changed from that event. We're going to share some of those tools and strategies and technologies through the Mind Hack course, as well as taking it a whole step deeper by doing an immersive experience at the end of February in 2024. You're going to get 2 tickets to that, and you're going to be able to join us and our whole team. Fox Fitness team will be going there, and we want to invite you to come with us. And then we also have a few other things that are going to basically be there to help support you after the 16 weeks is done. So we need to make sure that we're staying on top of our metabolism and we're doing the things addressed for that. So we're going to support you with our Master Your Metabolism program. We're going to give you the win the day checklist that's customizable that you're going to be able to change. A lot of us do well with checklists and things like that. So we're going to be able to teach you our tiny habits approach. We're going to teach you how to apply that, teach you how to create your win the day, and then you'll just be able to use that win the day checklist to support yourself in getting the results that you're looking for. And then we're also going to teach you, like this program's good for somebody in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s. It's meant to support health and restore health. So it doesn't matter what age you're at. We want to make sure that we support you, and we want to tell you the strategies that we use if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 40s, if you're in your 70s. And we're going to do that through our Healthy at Every Age guide. So whenever we look at the total value of the program plus the bonuses, it's over $9,700. But you're not going to have to pay that this weekend only. We can only take 10 people, but we have our members pricing. So if you're a member of Fox Fitness and you're already attending the gym, the members pricing for the 16-week course, the 4 months together, is a total price of $2,000. And if you're a non-member, it's $2,500. So I want to invite you to join us on the Optimal Living program. It starts Monday, November 6th. We kick things off, and then it'll basically run from November through the end of February. So take action today if you want to work on changing your life, and we hope to support you with the Optimal Living program. And with that, I want to thank you again for spending your time with me today. Hopefully you learned a little something. Hopefully you learned something about the 7 pillars. You've been able to identify, yes, I'm doing well in 1 or 2 or 3 of these pillars, but I haven't really addressed the others. Take inventory of where you're at today. Look at where you can make a good change. And if you want any help or support, we would love to support you along the way. Again, I'm Jared Wolver. Thank you for spending your time with me, and enjoy the rest of your day.